You all ready for us? All right. 1 second.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here. We are here standing in solidarity to speak on an issue that is impending for our state and our nation. We're facing an impending catastrophic event. This can't be measured by wave height or wind speed or seismic graphs. This is a human catastrophe that is impending and unfolding right in front of us. The government shutdown is now entering its 29 days and counting, and there's no end in sight. We are here to demand that Congress and the President of the United States immediately come together, work to end this shutdown. The time for the blame game is well past. You will hear from our colleagues who are gathered here today. Each are here to speak on multifaceted issues and the importance of the things that are facing our people as this goes. Our people, our economy, and the very fabric that holds our communities together is now at risk. I want to speak briefly about rural South Carolina. Ladies and gentlemen, the issues in front of us have everything to do with poverty, not charity. $108 million in the month of November, as we're facing today, will be taken from our state's economy. Let that sink in. $108 million. If you follow my comment about poverty, not charity, you'll note that in our, just like other impending catastrophes and storms, our state is not directly impacted the same. The human costs are going to vary greatly depending on where you live. I'll give you a couple of quick statistics. Allendale County has a 36.7 poverty rate. Bamberg County has a 28% poverty rate. Lee County has a 28% poverty rate. Williamsburg County has a 26% poverty rate. If you look at the poverty rate for children, ages 5 to 17, those numbers change. Where Allendale County's poverty rate is almost 50%. Bamberg, 40%. Lee County, 40%. Williamsburg County, almost 35%. Children who are living in poverty. The economic impact of cuts to our SNAP benefits and our programs in the state of South Carolina are going to have direct impacts on our retail operations, our grocery stores, businesses at large, and the employment that these businesses support. You can draw a direct correlation between poverty rate and percentages our grocery stores take in on a monthly basis in EBT purchases. Think about this. If you're a mom and pop grocery store living in Allendale County, where your grocery business is going to be reduced effectively by 35 to 38% beginning next week, how do you adjust for that? How does the supply chain adjust to that? This is an economic issue. This is an economic issue. It's not charity. It's poverty. Thank you.
Good morning, y'all. Thank everyone for being here. Certainly, I'm Russell Ott from Senate District 26. I appreciate Representative Kirby kind of laying out the issue to get things kicked off. You know, one of the things that I really want to talk about is that this is going to affect everyone. You know, I think a lot of the attention certainly is surrounding SNAP recipients, but it's not a partisan issue. It doesn't matter if you're a Republican. It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat. At the end of the day, if this comes to fruition, then everyone is going to be impacted negatively, whether you're on SNAP benefits or not. Roger, I think, did a great job of talking about how our businesses are going to be impacted. You cannot take, he talked about $108 million monthly in SNAP benefits. That equates to almost $200 million monthly in economic activity. You cannot take that out of our economy and not feel the impacts of inflation. You cannot feel the impacts of job layoffs, so we're all going to end up paying more. And so that's why we felt that it was so important for us to be here and highlight the fact that this is not a problem that is focused on just one group of individuals, that it truly is. If you're sitting at home listening to this, you know, it's going to impact you as well. We wanted to talk about, you know, I think Roger did a good job of alluding to the fact that this is kind of like a natural disaster, maybe a hurricane that is a couple of days off of the coast but is heading our way. And so I do believe, and we all decided it was important to urge everyone to get a plan. You know, go ahead and we'll provide information after the press conference is over so that people can know who to call to find out where their food banks are. Unlike some people have been stating, there are not food banks in every single county, particularly in our rural counties. So folks need to know. You know, folks with kids need to understand where they can go to try to get that temporary help. We were appreciative yesterday that the governor held a press conference and talked about the South Carolina One Fund, but I also think it's very important that everyone understand that that is not a solution. That's almost like a Band-Aid on a bullet hole. And it might buy us a couple of days, but if this goes into effect and lasts who knows how long, that's not going to get us out of this problem that we are currently facing. It's also important, I think, that we remember that unlike Congress, right, that has been on a paid vacation now for about a month, this government shutdown is not just about SNAP benefits. We have thousands upon thousands of folks that are federal employees that have been working without pay. Our military doesn't know if they're going to end up getting paid. We've got agencies like the Farm Service Agency, where farmers can't go and get the help that they need right now, have been shut down. We've got air traffic controllers that have been working without pay. Bureau of Prisons employees have been working without pay. So again, another strain ultimately on the economy. Those paychecks have not been coming. And, you know, if you're a family, you know, that is relying on that paycheck, then things are going to get tough. Unless, and we are still hopeful that Congress will work something out. At the end of the day, you know, people continuously asking me, what can they do? And I really believe that, yes, you know, if you can donate to local food banks, that's important. But right now, we're urging everyone to call your elected officials, call the members of Congress from the South Carolina delegation and tell them to get to work. That's what we hired them to do. That's what we elected them to do, is to come up with solutions to problems. And unfortunately, the majority of our congressional delegation seems to be here in South Carolina instead of at work in D.C. coming up with a plan to address this issue. So what can you do? You can call whoever you know. You can send emails. You can urge the governor to contact the Oval Office, the president, to try to impress upon them the importance of action, to actually get something done in the coming days so that potentially, you know, this is not going to have the negative impact that we hope. But the only way that is going to happen is if Congress gets back to work and they get our government back open. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Senator Tamika Isaac Devine with Senate District 19, and I am honored to stand here with my colleagues Not happy about the issue that we're here for, but I am proud to be able to stand here not as someone who is passing the buck, but somebody who is sitting, figuring out real solutions. And that's what we need. Y'all, this is not a federal issue, but this is a South Carolina issue. We are about to see it get real in the next couple days. It is going to hit every single community in South Carolina. More than 500,000 of our neighbors, many of the women, children, and families and seniors are at risk of losing the very benefits that help them put food on the table. 2/3 of those receiving benefits here in South Carolina are women and children. And these are mothers, there are grandmothers, they're caregivers, they're people that are doing everything right. They're paying their taxes. They're going to work every day, but they're still being punished by a government shutdown that is not of their making. And so as a mom, I wanted to put a real life issue, real life face on this. I can't imagine having to go home and explain to my children that they're not going to get food today. I can't imagine explaining to my children how we have to ration out the bacon over the next couple weeks because we have no idea when we're going to be able to purchase it again. Teachers have already been telling us that students are coming to school weary and hungry and not knowing how they're going to be able to eat when they get home. And a lot of them, the only food that they're going to be able to get is when they get to schools. And our school districts are already telling us that they're having to put in their resources that should be going into the classroom to help support the children that are coming to school every day. This indeed is a crisis. When women and families are in crisis here in our state, our entire state is in crisis. And let's be clear, this is not about compassion, although we need to have compassion for our neighbors, but this is about economics. Representative Kirby talked about the economy, but think about it. Our governor talks about how we are the fastest growing state in the nation and how good our economy is in South Carolina. But what's going to happen when SNAP benefits run out here in South Carolina? South Carolina will lose more than $100 million in federal aid, money that is nearly supported nearly $200 million in local spending. This is money that goes into our grocery stores, our gas stations, and our small businesses. They keep our cashiers on the payroll. They keep the store shelves stocked. And without these benefits, those store shelves will be empty and cashiers will not be able to get paid. When this disappears, everyone is going to feel it in our state. And it's not about a red or blue issue, but this is about right and wrong. The Trump administration, the federal government, Congress, both sides have a duty to make sure that these benefits come out. We need to be able to ask for SNAP benefits, the contingency funds to be released, and our governor can do that. He started off really good yesterday, and we want to thank the governor for the initial steps of activating 1SC. But that is nearly the beginning. That is not enough. Our governor can call the president and ask him to release the contingency SNAP benefits. He can also do what Representative Grant has asked and declare a state of emergency and that we are able to respond. He can also listen to Senator Tedder and call for a special session so that the legislature can come back in and see what we can do to help our citizens. We all have a power here. We all have responsibility here. Our power is in our voice, and it is to call on all of our elected officials to do their jobs. We're here as current members of the General Assembly. We're doing our job. We're out there in the community every day, and we're talking to our citizens. We're trying to connect them with resources. But 1SC is not going to be enough. Our food banks have already said that they do not have the capacity to deal with the gravity of this issue. The only thing that we can do is to call on our federal legislators to get back to work and then ask our state legislators to figure out how we can stop the gap in the meantime. Thank you so much, but make sure that we are calling and that we're holding everybody's feet to the fire and holding everybody accountable.
Good afternoon. State Representative Hamilton Grant representing House District 79 here in Richland County. And you're going to hear a recurring theme during this conference in that everyone here is doing what they can to try to help provide a solution, but the real solution are going to come from our congressional delegation. So again, I will add to the call for everyone to please call their congressional members and tell them to get back to work for the people of this country, particularly South Carolina. But as my colleagues have stated, there are immediate steps that we can take, and none of them involve asking struggling families or businesses to donate to a fund that currently has a zero balance. That is why I'm staying consistent in requesting that our governor please declare a state of emergency here in South Carolina under the South Carolina Emergency Management Act. The state law defines an emergency as an actual or threatened condition that has had a significant or adverse effect on the life, health, safety, or property of its citizens. A sudden massive loss of SNAP benefits that threaten food access for tens of thousands of South Carolinians clearly meets that definition. This, in my opinion, and as we all believe, is a humanitarian crisis. Funds are available. The governor has actually done it before. Declaring a state of emergency does not require new funding from the General Assembly. It allows the governor to redirect existing resources and emergency appropriations to meet urgent needs. This same authority was actually used during the COVID-19 pandemic when funds were redirected to support public health and food access programs. The law gives the governor broad discretion to act when the public welfare is at stake, including through the governor's emergency fund and existing appropriations within DSS, the Department of Agriculture, and Emergency Management, as allowed by SC Code 25-1-440. So in short, declaring an emergency gives the governor the flexibility to respond immediately to this food security crisis without waiting for legislative sessions. So in closing, in my comments, families are struggling to feed their children, daycares are stretched thin, seniors have seen their benefits reduced month after month. This is not just an economic issue, it is a humanitarian emergency that carries serious and mental health consequences. Earlier this morning, I had the opportunity to speak at an honors and awards program for a middle school here in one of our school districts. And so that school has a 97% poverty rate. It's the fourth highest in that school district. Many of those students have been displaced with a housing complex that is being closed. And the principal actually told me that he has students staying in hotels. Yet, this school that I spoke at this morning is one of the highest performing middle schools in that district and is now the top third performing in the district, But that school has over 50% of their students on SNAP. Over 50%. With free and reduced lunch potentially getting ready to be rolled back as well, SNAP benefits running out, not knowing where these students will lay their head, the last thing they need to worry about is where will they get their next meal. And so, again, with all due respect to our governor, this situation meets every definition of an emergency, and I urge him to declare it now. So South Carolinians don't have to know, or South Carolinians will know, rather, that their leaders have their backs, and instead of being told to rely on neighbors who are going through the same situation. The state of South Carolina can do something about it, and we can do it immediately. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I am State Senator Dion Tedder representing Charleston and Dorchester counties. As you know, the other day I wrote a letter to not only the governor, but also the president of the Senate and the Speaker of the House, asking them, requesting that they convene the General Assembly for a special session. A lot of questions were asked. What can the state do? This is a federal program, SNAP benefits. There are a lot of things that we can do. In fact, let's talk about how we've already failed South Carolinians. During this past General Assembly session, the first year since I've been in the General Assembly that we did not fund community investment projects. Those funds would have been distributed to nonprofit organizations, including food banks, who would now have those resources to do what they need to do to help feed our people. We didn't do that. Unintended consequences now, we're scrambling and trying to figure it out. The one SC fund is not going to fix it. By the time they raise the money, all the paperwork for people to apply and get vetted, people will go days, weeks, months without food. That's a serious problem. It's an emergency. So what can we do? Convene the General Assembly. We could appropriate funds to certain organizations, to our food banks immediately. We could also revisit what we failed to do this session. We could issue funds to those organizations, those food banks that are out there every day, that are under-resourced, that don't have the food on their shelves. We could do tax relief. There are a lot of options that we can do, and as far as the money, my understanding is we have over $1 billion in our reserves. That money can be used to help feed every family, and not only the SNAP beneficiaries. We're talking about federal workers that we have who are not getting a paycheck. That means families will now have to decide whether they pay their light bill or they buy food for their kids. Think about that. Do I pay my energy bill to have heat when it's so cold, or do I buy food to feed my children? That is ridiculous. We should not put our citizens in that position. And so, again, I'm urging that we come back, because there's a lot that the state can do. There's a lot that the governor can do with his discretionary funds. And I'm also calling on the Attorney General to sue the USDA, as 25 other states have done, because they're holding our contingency funds for SNAP benefits. And so there are a lot of things that can be done. There are a lot of states already moving ahead, a lot of governors taking action, and there's been a lot of calls. In fact, there's a state of emergency already been called in another state. There are other states that are calling for special sessions. We have to act now. We don't know how long this is going to last. We can't depend on the federal government. We can't wait for them to act. We have the power to act now in South Carolina. That's what we were elected to do, and that's what we need to do. Thank you.
Any questions?
Or anyone on the subject of the special session. As everyone has noted, this is a potential imminent crisis and move quickly, hopefully. The governor has outlined, as y'all know, calling a special session, which he can't do, but the speaker and the Senate president can, is not a quick process to get everyone here to draft legislation and pass it to appropriate funds. The speaker told me he doesn't even know if under the signing-die agreement y'all can even be called back under these circumstances. So with those arguments in mind, why do y'all think a special session to appropriate reserve money is a viable option?
The answer is clear, and yes, we understand the law, we understand what the governor can and can't do, but we also recognize that this is a crisis. This is no different than, has already been described, a hurricane coming to South Carolina. We see it coming. We know it's coming. We know that children are going to be starving. We know that adults are going to have to make the decisions that we've all talked about, and we need to show that we are not Washington, D.C., that we are down to do the work of the people, and if that means coming into session to figure it out, then we, as a body, as Democrats, are willing to do that, and we'd ask Republicans to do the same. So while the governor can't make us come back, asking us to come back is the first step. The Speaker, the President pro tempore, deciding that it's important enough for us to figure out how to feed families is something that we're going to simply have to do. We are right now in the back discussing, have we talked to City Council? Have we talked to County Council? Do we know where the food banks are? Do we know where to tell people to go give food? It is that important, and we see it coming, and it's a train, and the light is on, and we're standing in that tunnel. We've got to do whatever we can.
On the topic, Senator Heather, you brought up the lawsuit that 20-plus Democratic attorneys general have filed. Has anyone been in contact with Attorney General Wilson about joining this?
I personally have not, and so I'm asking him today publicly to join in that effort, because when you look at it, those are contingency funds that should be appropriated to South Carolina Department of Social Services, and the federal government told them to withhold those funds. And I think there's a valid legal argument there, and it wouldn't hurt to join in the effort to just try to get the resources to feed the people that we represent. That's all we're asking them to do, is actually try to do something.
I have a question for Senator Ott. You stated that the 1SC fund isn't the solution and might last us a couple of days. Do you think it's a situation where it really could see families struggling to donate, and that might ultimately lead to getting the contingent benefits?
see how it would be hard for families to donate to that fund. Yeah, I mean, you know, look, everybody has seen the prices of everything go up. So there is a financial strain on, and that's what we were talking about earlier, is that this is a much broader problem than one specific issue. So yes, I mean, you know, again, no one is knocking the effort. You know, it's, you know, it was called upon. I think, where are we at? 3 days away now from, you know, this going into effect. So wish it would have probably been done a little bit earlier. Wish that we had a stronger, more concise plan in place right now. And y'all have to understand, I mean, this is really all we can do, you know, is try to draw attention to the issue, try to encourage and urge folks to get in touch with their elected officials. We can't make the decision arbitrarily to come back in and start working on plans. But as the minority leader said, we stand ready to do so, to get together with whoever, our Republican colleagues, to come up with plans that can be put in place should this come to fruition. And hopefully it won't. I mean, I think we all continue to have hope, which is why I think it's very important that, you know, folks urge Congress to get to work and stop pointing fingers back and forth. The American people, South Carolinians, are tired of this blame game where one party is blaming the other and vice versa. You know, again, it's just a broken record, and we need folks to get to work. So again, yes, I have concerns at the end of the day that, you know, we might not raise the revenue that we need. And I can guarantee you we're not. We were talking earlier, it was $6 million appropriated from the SC1 fund, I think, for one of the last hurricanes we had. Again, we're talking about $108 million monthly, with a $200 million economic impact monthly. So we're not going to be able to fill that gap. You know, that's why we've got to get Washington moving.
And Representative Hamilton Grant, you sent the letter to the governor on Monday requesting, I think, declaring a state of emergency yesterday. You said you had no plans of doing that. You spoke about it a little bit when you were speaking, but just what was your reaction to that with no plans of him declaring that state?
Well, it's disappointing. He has the power to do so. Again, the 1SC fund is a noble start, but my reservation with that is people on these programs like SNAP already have a negative connotation. There's a stereotype associated with it when the people on this benefits don't have a look per se. And if people don't believe what I'm saying, look no further than the comment section on some of these articles and news that you all produce on the issue. And so these are the same people that the governor and others are asking to donate to something they do not believe in. So if we already know that is a factor, why not utilize the power that you already have with declaring a state of emergency? And I applaud you all as the media for asking the question and the follow-up question, because South Carolina can do something. So sitting here or standing here and saying that South Carolina can't do it, but yet having a fundraiser on camera trying to advocate for why people should give to 1SC is null and void. So I do believe calling a state of emergency or declaring a state of emergency is the right thing to do. I joined Senator Tedder as well with asking our Speaker of the House and President of the Senate to call us back into session. While many are worried about maps, we're worried about feeding people. And so if we're going to have a session and get called back, let's do it for the right thing and do it for the people of South Carolina.
Representative Grant, could you talk a little bit about the pots of money that you think are available if the governor declared a state of emergency, and how much money might be available? $100 million a month?
Sure. So let me start by saying that even if the governor declared a state of emergency, the pots of money that I believe that are available would not fix the problem. We as South Carolinians and as elected officials and legislators cannot fix something that Congress is charged with doing. So anything that comes, whether it's 1SC, whether it is a state of emergency, whether it's coming back, is supplemental to what Congress should be doing. So I believe based off of the Emergency Management Act, based on the power that the governor has, he can redirect funds that are already allocated to special use things, like this isn't a humanitarian crisis. It's already been done. Look at COVID-19 when the state of emergency was declared. And so if we already have a precedent coming on camera and saying that it can't be done, I don't understand that. So those are some of the funds. We get creative with how we want to fund things all the time. I'm sure this is no different.
All right. Thank y'all so much.
Good.
Thanks, guys.